All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Mortgage Coach Trust Engine Tuesday interview. Every Tuesday for over 15 years, either myself or someone that I delegate it to interview someone amazing. And today is no exception. We have someone who is very elite, who's become a great personal friend of mine, industry leader, industry innovator, Sue Woodard. What's up, Sue?
Hey, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Good to be here with the Trust Engine family.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. And I'm really excited about this conversation. Every time you speak, you are so polished. People probably think like, oh, Sue's just naturally gifted. And you are naturally gifted, but naturally gifted will only get you good. It won't get you elite and world class. And Sue does an incredible job of prepping. She's got a really cool presentation that she's going to give. Sue, why did you come up with this topic? Why did you put so much work into the presentation that you're going to share today? Like, what's your why? Because to do
Yeah,
something this good, you had to have a why.
no, it's a really good question. And so, the presentation, kind of how we build this, is talking like undercover agent. And, I think it's really interesting. People talk a lot about customer experience, but they talk about it like how we inside of a company view our customers' experience without sometimes really literally sitting in the customer seat. Because I think we've probably all had the experience, like we go to, do our own mortgage transaction and we're like, wow, this email is totally weird or something. Like we get caught off guard sometimes by our own process. And so I had years ago done something called the experience experiment, where I did a lot of work on getting a group of people going out and doing some real secret shopping. And we did a really cool secret shopping exercise at Stratmore to do exactly that, to really not just say, how do we think, we're perceiving this to our customers as we put together this experience, but really saying, what is the customer experience? And also, how has it changed? Because customer experience is not a one and done, nailed it, now we're good forever. It's something that evolves. And a part of this presentation recently that you're referring to that I did really talked about what I call Gen CX, of kind of the new generation of consumers, the post-pandemic consumer, and what are they looking for from financial services, from mortgage advisors, and how do we need to change our game a little bit, to really meet them where they're at and what they want right now.
Yeah, well, I loved the Gen CX. Everybody talks about Gen Z, and I always say that what Gen Z wants, likes, and expects, so do millennials. So
Yeah.
does X. And you're right, it's a Gen CX. And by the way, not everybody does. I mean, there are, even in a mortgage coach experience, there'll be people within a family experience that they'll get the link, they'll download the app, and they want the native experience. And there'll be people that, oh, I'm not going to download the app, but I want the experience in a web experience. And there'll be people that I want it printed out, and I'll drive 40 minutes to come get that printed out piece of paper. So maybe the drive to pick up the paper isn't the Gen CX, although they want it on paper looking good. They want it, they
Yep.
want it every way they can get it. So before we get into the conversation, I didn't open with an introduction for Sue because she's so well known. Like if you went into ChatGPT and you said, who are the top 10 speakers in the mortgage industry, I'll bet you Sue would show up. She's been for all you new loan officers, she's been doing mortgage for over 30 years. Sue, how long have you been in the mortgage game?
33 years. Yeah, I
33,
started
yeah.
when I was a fresh-faced young girl at 21, and
Yeah.
have to color my hair a lot more these days. But yeah, it's been a couple of minutes.
So long time. She's been a top producing mortgage professional. She's been a speaker. She's been, CEO of CRM businesses. She's, been an advisor to some of the biggest brands in mortgage. I think now you're consulting with Stratmore, the top consulting agency in mortgage. And so guys, this is a real treat. Like, you've got Sue Woodard, who spent a lot of time and work putting together a presentation from the perspective of the consumer. And I do
Yeah.
think in the mortgage business, when you look at all the technology that's designed, it's designed to sell to CEOs and loan officers so that they can manufacture a compliant and saleable mortgage experience. Like, that is how the industry obsesses. Because, by the way, it has to be compliant. It has to produce a saleable loan, and it needs to manufacture a really quick loan. But too often, what the consumer wants and how the consumer wants it is really not looked at carefully enough. So Sue, why don't, however you want to do this? I know we want to talk it out a little bit. I also know you have slides, so pull up slides whenever you want to pull them up.
Yeah, I've got some slides I'll show. I know some of you might just be listening to this, so I'll make sure that I'm talking it through as we go as well. But I'll share my screen, and Dave, you tell me if this.
I'll tell you when I see it. And then remember, folks, I'm sure some of these slides Sue's willing to share. I'm not going to commit to all of them. But if she does share slides with me, I'll put them in a link. So if you're watching this in YouTube, there'll be a link in show notes. And for anyone who's watching this in the Mortgage Coach community, the Trust Engine Facebook group, I will also put whatever slides we get from Sue in there. So
yeah, and I could put it in. Let me see if this looks okay. Can you still see it? Okay.
Looks killer.
Okay. What is Gen CX looking for? Well, we'll talk this through. Thank you. Oh, I even see some thumbs up and whatnot.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, we like those emojis. I can just tell you that.
Yeah, my heart
they
feels
will
really warm right now. So
they'll make us better speakers if you keep doing that.
Right on. So, I'm going to pull up some of the things that, again, I learned about what I will call Gen CX. And this is, again, kind of that post-pandemic consumer, definitely looking for something a little bit different. And sometimes people have the wrong perceptions. And Dave, you remember like when everybody was talking about the millennials and all the millennials, and they're never going to want to talk to people. They're going to want to only have everything digital and everything through their phones. And it turns out that wasn't true, right? That millennials actually did want this human experience and this connection and to get this advice. And so, yes, this does cover everybody. Kind of what does the financial consumer look like right now? What are they looking for from us as their mortgage advisors? And so there's actually 4 key headlines that I learned. And then I'm going to show you some examples of some things that we got from our secret shopping exercise that kind of illuminate why these principles are so important. So, first of all, it's really important to the consumer of today that they really do want their financial professionals to know them. They want to be known by their financial service providers. They do want the ability to provide information because they would like us to be able to advise them and guide them and help them, right? And so there's something called zero-party data usage, which means literally the data that a consumer gives to their financial institution. And I will tell you as an example, I have been banking with an institution for, at least 30 years. It will go unnamed, but I will say that I've given them a lot of data and information about myself over the years, willingly given it to them, let alone what they have from transaction information, from demographic information that they know about me, things that they can then perceive or assume that they know about me. And I haven't once been sent something by my bank that has actually been pertinent and applicable to me. This will make you all cringe. I even called one day and said, hey, I need to pay off and close out my home equity loan because I'm getting ready to move and look for a new house and buy a new home. And the response was, sounds good. We'll get some paperwork out to you. You should see it in a few weeks. And I was like, really? Really? That was such a big open door. That's all you had for me. And so it's been, it's disappointing, right? Because there's so much data and information that we can learn. I want to share with you a couple of examples.
Hey, real quick, before you go off that one, go back to that slide. And I just want to push everyone. This is one of the reasons why when you create a total cost analysis, we always say that, adding a video to that, one, it humanizes and personalizes. And then 2, saying their name back to them, shows them that you remembered their name. Yes. And then when you call out, what was the biggest takeaway from that conversation? If they told you monthly payment was most important, show them, them. And so one of the easiest things you can do is just create that personalized TCA, put a video, say their name, call out their goals, their top goals, and move on. So I just wanted to call that out because, this is a community of mortgage coaches. So what's the next one?
So glad that you did. Video is important. The other thing that you just said that's so important, Dave, is they say that the most beautiful word to someone is the sound of their own name. And while that sounds like, conceited, I actually had somebody the other day, I was calling to find out about a security system for my mom. And the person used my name multiple times, not weirdly, but multiple times in the conversation. And there is something weird where it resonates and makes me immediately feel like, a little more of a personal connection. So spot on, Dave. Thank you for that.
And I want to add one more best practice. And when you call people for their annual review, you're showing them you know them.
Yeah.
When you get alerts that could help you give valuable advice and you actually call them, you show them that you know them. And so you do that over the course of, a year or two. And these people think that you do, you're showing them that you love them and you know them. So anyways, love
Yes.
this.
Yes. Well, I want to share with you an example. I think when you think about, who are organizations, that people really just think have a great experience. USAA is a company that comes up a fair amount, and very interesting. I thought these stats were really interesting, where they have 64% of their members say that they're very satisfied, but 83%, so almost another 20% of their customers say absolutely they would purchase more products from USAA. And the reason for that is because they know their members, right? Every single time they talk to them, you've probably heard this, that they say, hey, Mr. Smith, I just want to thank you for your service in the Marine Corps. And they know what branch they served. They know how long they served. They have this information. And so this person feels seen and known by their financial institution. So even when they're not very satisfied with their relationship, they're saying, I'm still going to double down and do more business with you. So it just shows you that it works. An example where it probably hasn't worked as well is Disney. Disney is another company that very commonly that brand name comes up when people talk about incredible customer experience. But if you look at what Disney has done, they're down 40% on their stock price year to date, with their lowest category ranking from their customers being trust. And part of why this happened is it's due to a lot of different things. There's criticism of their business practices, their executives, their content, but they knew their customer, but they kind of went away from them. They kind of stopped saying to their customers, hey, we know you and we know what you want. And we're going to do that. Their customers stopped trusting them, and it's showing up. It's showing up in their stock price, right? And so these are real dollars that are meaningful when it talks about really knowing that customer, right? So that's number one. The second thing is to earn my trust. That's what Gen CX wants, is they want you to earn their trust. And trust is at an all-time low. If you read the Edelman Trust Barometer, which I think some of you might be familiar with, Dave, you've probably talked about it, over time. It's a pretty common and interesting index, but it measures trust, and it measures it, in many different ways, measures it globally. But when you look at the United States right now, it's like at all-time lows. Low trust in business, low trust in government, low trust in politicians, although I could make a case for saying that might always be the case. Low trust in the media, low trust in social media, but sadly, it's also low trust in each other. Right? It's like the lowest we've had. And we can probably all feel this, you're out, it's kind of a strange world out there, but trust is extremely low. It is particularly low for financial services. In fact, Forrester also did a study on trust, and only 2% of financial services were rated strong on trust. Right. And Dave, I will turn it back to you just for a second before we go on to the third piece, because I know you talk about that a lot, about how important trust is. It's in your name, Trust Engine.
Yeah.
Share a little nugget on that.
Yeah. Well, it was part of why we named the company that owns MortgageCoach and Sales Boomerang Trust Engine, is because we do live in an era where distrust is the default. And for the first time in history. So while I think, to your point, have politicians ever been trusted? Probably not. Some more so than others. But for the first time in the history of America, last year was the first year, according to the Edelman Trust Barometer, that in America, distrust is the default. And so I think when it comes to business and driving an incredibly profitable business, a fun business to be part of, trust needs to be the goal. And like I said, that's why we named the company Trust Engine, because we do believe, while technology can't completely solve the problem, technology can help. It can help you be at the right place at the right time, and it can help you deliver more transparency. We designed a total cost analysis so that you're showing options, you're showing how those options perform over time. That is a trust trigger. There are things that you can do within the course of your mortgage experience that that trigger trust. And we want to be a company that does that. So anyways, love that this is number 2.
Dave, trust trigger. That's a good one. You got to like
Ooh,
coin that phrase.
hashtag. Yeah.
Trust trigger. I
Thank you
like
for
it.
calling that out.
The third thing that the Gen CX consumer really wants is they want to be advised. So they're saying, please advise me. And this is something that is so in the sweet spot, with total cost analysis, and so many of the mortgage coach tools is all about, advice. And one of the things, Dave, I know both you and I have talked about, from stage is financial literacy. We both have talked about this. We have preached this, and it's amazing to me. It's a passion of mine to try to, really think about this. And I know Kristen Messerly is doing some amazing things with her new crew that she's put together on really teaching about financial literacy and about home ownership, because it blows my mind that the things that our kids learn in high school, and every single one of them is going to have to deal with money when they graduate, right? Every single one of them, every single human being is going to have to deal with, money, savings, income, debt, credit, finance, how the world of money works, because they're going to be involved in it, like it or not. That is how the world works, is you're going to deal with money, but it is not something that is required education for every single high school student that's graduating. And that just kills me. Some states are starting to get a little bit better, but it's something that is needed literally by everyone, but it's taught by very few. Especially when you think about, we've got this great wealth transfer coming up. This, I think the latest number that I've heard is something like $84 trillion is being transferred. That is an enormous amount of money that is being transferred down to these generations where they're not educated in many cases as to what the heck to do with this money. So they want advice, they want guidance. Gen CX, I mean, Dave, you use this term of financial friend with benefits. I think I've heard.
I think there is a t-shirt that says such things.
I think that there is. I don't know if it's an Alex.
No, Alex, I'm sure he's wearing it today.
Probably is. Financial friend with benefits. But that's something that, people do really want that. And they consistently say that they want that. And it's very interesting. There are, in fact, unmet needs out there. And this is really interesting. I want to share this with you. There was a study that FICO did very recently, where they asked people about, kind of what do you want from somebody that's advising you about finances? And check this out. First of all, interesting stat, 86% of Americans say that they're satisfied or very satisfied with their current financial institution. But Dave, guess how many mention a financial institution when they're asked what's crucial to the future of your financial success? How many would you guess?
I mean, not nearly enough. I'm going to guess it's 18%.
It is 1%.
Oh, I mean, like,
1%.
I thought like I was, oh my God.
You were gaming it too, right? No, people usually say, oh, maybe 25%, 30%. Literally 1% of Americans mention any sort of financial institution when they're asked what's crucial to the future of your financial success. Pretty amazing, right?
That's
now, here's the really interesting part, because this is, I think, so much, again, in the sweet spot of what we can do as mortgage advisors. This is the kind of information that people are saying that they would pay for. Okay. They would pay money for. Example, a service that helps negotiate money situations, self-driving, budgeting, and investing, access to, can I afford it? Advice on big spending decisions like, oh, I don't know, a house is probably one of the biggest spending decisions that people are going to make. Getting expert advice on how to ask more, earn more at your current job. Weekly emails that help you deal with status anxiety, social media, and the temptation to compare yourself to others, but also learning how your financial status stacks up against peers. Now, the reason I found this so interesting is this is not necessarily something that all of us as mortgage advisors would do, but it really shows you and it illuminates this is the kind of thing that people are thinking about, and they would pay for this. They're not saying, yeah, I might click on that. They're literally saying, if I could find a financial institution to do these things, I would actually pay for it. So you start to think about, in our role, when we're helping people with the largest financial transaction of most people's lives, absolutely they are looking for advice, and they're looking to us to provide them that advice once we've known them, we've earned their trust, and then we're in that sweet spot of being able to actually advise them. And, sometimes, Dave, and those of you who've been in the business a long time, for decades, people have been talking about a customer for life, right? Customer for life. But to have a customer for life, you need to talk to them during their life about their life, right? And so as you start to think about what are the kinds of things that I could reach out and talk to my customers about in between transactions in order to look at referrals, here's a really interesting list of some content that might be very interesting to them. And in fact, 70%, yes, sir.
Stop sharing the screen real quick. I want to fireside chat with you on this topic,
Okay.
So see, my presentation that I'm doing at Keynotes right now is there's an advice revolution going on. I've got big slide, advice revolution.
Yes.
And tell me if you agree. I mean, we've been talking a lot about how advice is a competitive advantage, but I do believe 2 data points really make it super important for lenders to actually take action right now. And one of the data points is that for our entire career in the business, rates have gone down, not every month and not every year, but they went from my first year, they were at 10. Your first year, they were probably at 9-ish, I don't know what they were, but
they went down to, I was excited when we got to single digits. It was a big day.
Yeah, that was a big day.
Right?
And they went down to 2, and 63% of Americans have a mortgage that starts with 2 or 3%. So I make the case, the real estate industry's never dealt with this. The lending industry's never dealt with this. And it's going to require advice and coaching. In order for us to help families make complex decisions, because it is more complex now. Do I move up and sell the 2.5% or the 3.5%, or do I rent? So one, I think that data point, and then the other data point is just the tidal wave of Gen Z, millennial, and X. I mean, it's Greg Shear shared from stage that Gen Z, millennials, and half of X is 2.5 times the size of boomers. And so it's there's this tidal wave, and they all are Gen ZX. And they're demanding advice. So what are your thoughts on those data points to really make a case for CEOs and lenders to really do a makeover? You need to invest in a Gen ZX tech stack. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think the point that you're making, again, is just because we're not seeing all the transactions, we have all these people out there that are, man, they want the goal of home ownership, and we do have this tidal wave of people that are coming in. And I would contend that I think we both know anecdotally that they're not getting the advice that they need. They're not getting the advice that they need financially. We just know that they're not. I think we're sometimes, I don't want to say our industry, but just overall, people may make a mistake is that they assume what people know. And I'm going to show you some examples in a couple of minutes of some kind of horrifying secret shopping examples of this. But there's jargon that is used. There is, assuming that people understand, are the acronyms that we throw around. The power of being able to show the different options and what they mean to you over time by putting more down or less down. I think sometimes that because we do this all the time and it's very natural and normal to do, we sometimes forget that they don't do this all the time. And this is literally one of the largest and most stressful financial decisions and transactions. And as you and I have talked about before, particularly with the purchase, there's a life event happening and there's emotions involved, and there's very oftentimes, family involved. It is the most important time to slow down and offer that advice, and don't make the assumptions that they know. I remember vividly as a loan officer, I was originating a loan for this guy who was PhD engineer, super high level, one of the smartest guys I'd ever talked to, and I could tell. So I shortcutted through a lot of things because I thought, well, I don't want to offend him because he probably, and I remember he caught me and he's like, that I have no clue what you're talking about. He's like, if we wanted to create a, nuclear implosion, fusion, fission, he's like, I got that all day long, but he's like, I have no clue about any of the stuff that you're talking about. And I was like, good note. And he really wanted this kind of critical advice and scenarios and analysis. And I just think we overlook and sometimes don't, or we think people don't want to hear it. They want to hear it. And they've said it loud and clear over and over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, I want to say one more thing and then have you share your slides again and keep going through
Yeah.
your presentation. But, here's what I want every mortgage professional, if you're a loan officer on this, I want you to audit yourself on your next couple borrower conversations. And for any executives, when you start really listening to your loan officers, they think that, because they're giving all this transactional advice, telling them about credit and talking about qualifying for a mortgage, guys, those are loan manufacturing advice questions. And by the way, it's good. You need to give advice as to how to get a transaction. But when we talk about advice, we're talking about helping people make decisions that help them achieve the real goal, which is home ownership and financial freedom. I mean, that's why financial freedom lending, we actually have a hashtag, is our compass, because you've got to help people. Like, advice is helping them achieve financial freedom. Advice is improving their overall financial literacy. And anyways, it's something I'm very passionate about, and we are very passionate about at Trust Engine. So cool.
Well, and
Let's
it's also, I will also say, because I know you do this with Sales Boomerang, it is, the power of these, these two things is being aware of what's going on. It's being aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then it's the conversations in between the transactions, whether there's a transaction happening or not. I think too often in the mortgage industry, it's, we go from transaction to, now we're going to go off and do another transaction, and we're not having, the conversations in between. And there's so many things to reach out and talk about and give advice on, and people are hungry for it. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And just remember, folks, just because you're sending emails to folks and you're following up with them doesn't mean you're giving them value. Value is when you're calling them at the right time, based off of a life event, based off of a change of circumstances, and you're giving coaching. Like, you're not just calling, you're calling with context, and you're giving real coaching value. So cool.
Right on. Okay.
What's next?
I'm going to try to reshare.
And just a reminder, we are at the halfway point. And folks, if you do have questions for Sue, we will try to get them. So feel free to share them either in Facebook or in Zoom, or if you're watching on YouTube, I'll make sure your questions get answered.
I love it. Okay, good stuff. Just a final note on that, some of that FICO study where people are like raising their hands saying, yes, we want advice. We want to hear from financial professionals about all these different things. 70% of consumers actually said they'd be likely or very likely to go do business somewhere else if a competitor offered some of those financial advice type of things, which is pretty interesting. So the fourth thing, and this is where we get into kind of some of the secret shopping elements that I'm going to show you some real life examples of that will probably make your hair stand on end just a touch. But the final thing is to make it easy for me, right? So we talked about, I want you to know me. I want you to, earn my trust. I want you to advise me, but then please make it easy for me to do business with you, right? A couple examples of this, as you guys know, we've kind of got the Alexa and Siri generation, where we've got, I can think of times that, I was out with my daughter in the woods. We didn't have our phones with us, and we were talking about, should we take the next loop, on this hike or not, and she's like, hey Siri, is it going to rain? And I was like, dude, there's no Siri out here. Like, it's just, but people get used to just talking into air and having something answer the question. And I think also people are also very used to instant access to information, instant access to their money. And it's why you start to see more of what's called embedded finance during any kind of buying process. Very often, it happens a lot with almost anything you do. There's a way to real quick, you just click right here and you just pay for it with your Google money or your Starbucks card or your Uber app. I mean, you're doing something, but the finance is embedded into that. And I think it's worthwhile thinking about. It's true for cars now, right? There's embedded finance in vehicles. And it is something that we have to think about how far away. I know they're trying to do it with homes. We still believe there's still there. It's such a large investment, and there is, I can't underscore enough, as you all know, the value of the advice, but it's people are trying to get into that game of saying, oh, let's just embed the mortgage right in here too and make it real easy. And one of the things we have to do in order to hang on to that consumer is really remove the friction. And in many cases, the friction is that there is no friction or communication. Nothing is happening, right? And so I'll give you a kind of a quick example of what it might look like. And Dave, I know you've seen this visual before, but when you think about that customer experience, there generally are a lot of gaps in that customer experience by poor process, lack of communication. Maybe we forgot about them. You made such a good point a few minutes ago, Dave, where it's not about you just drip on their head 10 times with some random email and hope that, maybe that's going to do it, but it's the right message at the right time. And gaining that, building that trust, connecting with them, engaging with them, letting them know that you know them. If we don't do that, we're not going to have the business. We're going to lose those deals to the competitor. We're going to not get the referrals that we want. We're not going to get the repeat business that we're looking for, and we're not going to gain that relationship. So as we look to optimize it, I want to show you some examples of what friction looks like so that I can show you these are reasons that customers may drop out of the process. Okay, so I'm going to share with you, these are the results of a secret shopping exercise that we did at the Stratmore Group. This was just in May, so just 6 weeks ago, something like that. There were 37 companies who were secret shopped, including IMB, bank, and credit union. And my colleague at Stratmore, Brett McCracken, spearheaded this effort. Some of you may know the name. Dave, I think you know Brett.
Oh yeah,
really
big fan.
Brilliant dude. And these were some of his findings that he came up with that he gave me permission to share. So first of all, kind of interesting, when they looked at the websites, these are the percent of lenders that had various features like a contact me form. Not many had the chat function, which I thought was very interesting. Only 18% had a chat function, 89% had a digital application, and only 21% had a real rate shopping experience. And so primarily for what you're getting ready to see, this is on a contact me type form, which almost every lender had. Interesting thing to start out with response times, because it generally wasn't bad on average. The very shortest time in terms of response time was about 60 seconds, where you literally hit, click, and somebody, were receiving a phone call right away. That's somebody with a call center, somebody who's got a consumer direct call center type thing where they're calling you absolutely immediately. The average was about 11 hours and 16 minutes to get some sort of a response. And that's pretty good, that same day or next day. It's not good when it's multiple days later. Do you have a guess of how long the longest was, Dave?
Well, never, but days.
Exactly. 52 hours and 52 minutes. But yes, the absolute longest was those who never replied at all. There were 4 who never replied.
Oh my gosh.
This is somebody reaching
it doesn't
out.
surprise. How many total again? How many total?
4, 37.
37. Yeah. So that's like 10% never, 11% never responded.
Yes.
Wow. How many did it in a minute and less, out of that? 30,
I don't remember the actual count on that. That was definitely the shortest, but you could tell it was the ones who had a consumer direct, right? Or they had something in place where
they had a system in place. One little concept to insert right here. One of the things that we're advocating and teaching in the industry right now is that speed to lead is critical. Like there's so much data around the value of speed to lead, but we think in this new era that we're in, speed to need, we actually have it as a hashtag in our pillars that the loan officer, they can get to the needs of the consumer faster. So that encompasses speed to lead, but it also encompasses, going beyond the transaction, really getting to the need of that consumer, which means you showed them that you know them. By the way, if you can get to that need and that pain, you're going to earn trust, and then you can advise. So I want everybody to write that down. Speed to need is where it's at in the future. What is it?
I love that.
CX. Love it.
Yes, I love that. I feel the need.
I feel the need for speed. Let's go. Well,
So many good
where have I heard
hashtags.
that before? Where have I
Yeah,
heard
if I
that
could
before?
figure out how to throw up a heart emoji for you on that one, Dave, I would, because that's I got too many controls going here, but I like
Well,
that.
we
The
got
speech.
a
Oh,
couple
thank you.
hearts from the.
Thank you.
Oh,
The
thank you,
crew's helping me
community.
out. Thanks, family. But this is a really interesting stat from ICE right here. ICE actually did some surveying on this, and they did say that if you are able to call within a minute of a borrower's inquiry, you're going to get 2.3 times higher conversion. And I think all that really serves to tell us is, is getting in touch in a short period of time, and most importantly, getting to the heart of it. It's not about calling and being like, here's the rate, okay, bye. It's getting to the right need of that consumer. I love how you phrased that, Dave. I'm going to show you some examples, real life examples of kind of what the secret shopping team found when they went on and actually filled out some lead forms. So this is one that is a pretty common looking one. Lead form, kind of interesting when you look at it. You'll note that one of the questions that they ask is, what is your current property purchase situation? What's your current situation? Have you signed? Do you have an offer in place? Have you found a property? Where are you at? On the next page of this, again, very common questions that they're asking: what's your employment status, etc. And one of the questions that they ask is, are you working with a real estate agent? Okay, here's the email that came from the loan officer. Hey, let's get started. Hello, Frank. I just received your inquiry. I need some additional information. Where are you in the process of buying a home? And are you working with a realtor? They literally just asked those on the form. So immediately, what do you think that this consumer feels, Dave?
They don't know me and they're just getting right to it. The only thing they didn't do that could have been worse is to actually make the first question, what's your social security number? That might have been
Well,
worse.
exactly. And it's just, the thing that just killed me on this is they're asking questions they already asked. And so that immediately makes the person have a lack of trust, saying like,
Yeah,
wait a
that
second,
too.
I gave you, to your point, I'm already giving you some information about things. Next, you're going to start asking me personal questions like my social security number. And you don't seem to be able to like pay attention to these things because you just asked. Why are you asking me again? So if it's me, I'm feeling irritated from the start, because I'm like, I just told you the answers to these things. You're already asking me again. It's like, oh gosh, where are we going next? So not good. Deep breaths, right? So here's another one. On the contact me form, this particular lender, who all shall go unnamed, they answered these questions. Primary purchase of loan, it's a purchase. First time home buyer, yes. Type of purchase, primary residence. Have real estate agent, no. Timeline, within the next year. Okay, that's literally what they filled out. Hit enter. Received a voicemail from a loan officer, and here's the actual voicemail. Yeah.
No.
I received a web form lead here. The application is for the purchase of a home or a refinance. Not quite sure what you're looking to do. It wasn't necessarily clear in the link that you sent or the inquiry information that you sent. Please give me a call. Oh, this one's
Don't do this. Don't do this, everyone.
Don't do this. Don't do this. But these are real deals. This is not like looking back to exactly. I love that little shocked face that just came up. Thank you. This is 6 weeks ago. So this is not like, oh man, people are busy with refis and who knows who's answering. This is right now from actual loan officers being given an actual, a purchase lead. So that's what happened. Here's an interesting one.
Real quick, I want to insert.
Yeah.
So anyone watching this, whether you're a loan officer, you're a CEO, you're a head of production, you're a head of marketing, go and audit, like literally today, go and audit. I don't know, just do 3 or 4, make sure your company is one of them, that you do this online audit. But guys, everybody needs to take action today, like make it an hour today and go do, shop yourself, shop a few other companies and take action on. I mean, Sue's giving you the playbook, like here, go do this. So anyways,
like
keep
end
it rocking.
to end with people that are in. It's one of my recommendations I'm going to give you at the end is exactly that, Dave, is sit in a big conference room at least once a year with a loan officer assistant, a processor, an underwriter, and you go through the whole entire thing, soup to nuts, and see what it actually looks like. This right here is from one of the largest 20 banks in the United States. If you have any questions, we're here to help. Feel free to get in touch. Portal.com is the name that came at the bottom of the email from the lender. How about this one? This is kind of in the same genre. Have a question? Email us at no reply at lendername.com. We're here to help, right? Shocking to me. This one, like I said, just again, kind of my opinion, a little bit of like a faux pas, right? Thank you from mortgage lender. I mean, would you open this? Would you? I mean, I don't know. This is not from a person's name. It's just generic mortgage lender. And I love this. Sincerely, mortgage lender. No mobile number, no NMLS. Not good, not good, not good, right? This is a text message that came back. That was one of the options. So at one of these lenders is you could receive messages by text. So I'm going to read it for the folks who are maybe just listening. Hey, Frank, this is blank, a loan advisor over at blank. If you're serious about getting pre-qualified for a mortgage, I'd be happy to help and answer any questions you have about the whole process. Let me just stop right there and say, if you're serious, I'm happy to help, right? Okay. If not, I'll take you off of my list. Goes on, pre-qualification lets you know what your purchasing power is, what loan options would be available. If you're interested, let me know. If not, reply stop to opt out and I'll take you off my list. Again, it's to me, this is a little bit, it's blunt, right? If you're interested, I'm happy to help. If you're not, let me take you off my list. Also asking, where are you at in the home buying process? Because your timeline equals my paycheck. And based on how you answer is probably going to determine how I'm going to be following up with you. Again, not, I don't know, not the impression that we want to give customers. This one, another one, instant response text that came immediately upon hitting like enter. This was the text message that came across. Frank, thank you for your interest in a home loan with blank. Your questions and needs for home financing are important to us, and one of our mortgage experts will call you soon from this phone number. For faster service, please call us at the same number. We look forward to speaking with you. Please note that replies are not monitored, et cetera, et cetera. So the first call from the lender did not come for several days. This is the one that was 52 hours later, right? So this was several days later. The call did not come from the phone number that was stated in the message, that little blue block that you see right there. It says for faster service, call us, right? Which is, I don't know, it doesn't make somebody feel like they're that eager to get their business, right? And worst yet, they were actually provided 4 different phone numbers total to contact, all going to various assorted different places. And of course, you cannot reply to this text to engage with the company after you clearly have already reached out, raised your hand and said, hey, I'm actually interested. This was another one that I thought was relatively interesting. This was a chat bot. You know, there was only a handful of companies that had a chat bot, but here, here's how this one went. This was a bank. So this was a bank that happened to offer mortgages as well. And so they said blank bank offers a variety of loans to meet you where you're at. It's a good start, right? I really like that. Which type of loan can I help you with? Personal loans or other loan type? Those are the 2 options. Other was selected. The response, I'm sorry, I'm not finding what you're looking for. To browse all of our loan products, please visit the loan page of our website or contact us at blank, right? And so you even tried to, I mean, you're trying and immediately, what do you think people are actually going to do? I mean, this was a secret shopper, but Dave, can you imagine? This is the actual experience that I suspect today, real customers that are looking for a mortgage loan are getting from this institution. And absolutely, they're going to be turning around and looking for other options. I will raise one example, and I will name their name because they did a very good job. M&T Bank had a video chat option. And it was really the only one where we saw that video chat option. And Dave, this kind of goes back to your point previously about how important making that video connection is to know the person, start to build that trust, and then be able to offer that advice. Any other comments on that, Dave, before we move on?
Well, no, I do have a comment. I put a link to an interview I did a few years ago. Brian Morley, who is the head of production for Fulton Bank. And today, because he's the head of production, he's only like the, top 5 loan officers in the company. He's, when he was a full-time originator, he was number 1, $100 million plus producer. But I interviewed him and he had just got done shopping 6 lenders because he was buying a second home. And he goes, you know what, buying a second home, let's go and shop 6 lenders. And so I put that link. I would urge you guys, between what you've heard from Sue, and if you listen to that interview, he shares his findings of, gives kind of his version of the feedback. But I really think, guys, we're at halftime. Like it's the halftime of 2023. It's a brutal year. Like it's really tough. And I just can't emphasize enough that if you know, first of all, I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're really taking in what Sue is sharing. I hope the way you take action is you schedule some time and you go shop your competition. I do recommend you listen to this Brian Morley interview because he focused a lot on, you know, what kind of a quote did they give him? You know, he's like, you know, one of them, I didn't even get a quote. I got 5 quotes. He showed, you know, we blocked out the names to protect the innocents, but he showed, you know, all the ways in which they presented rates and fees. And he was just like, it was mind-boggling. He goes, it gave me so much more confidence as a mortgage coach that the way I am showing up for consumers is so much more valuable. And he goes, it was really good for me to see this. And then he also made me a better leader. Like he goes, it really helped me create more change within my organization because I had personal experience around shopping these lenders. I had personal experience around how we're better and different. And now I can be a better change agent within my organization. So I just really can't push people enough to do that. Also, I would love to interview any top producers in our community that actually take me up on this. And you want to jump on stage with me and share what you found. So I just want to keep this going. This is awesome, Sue.
I would love that. I would love that. And I know we've got only about 10 minutes left. And
so I want to make sure you get to share anything that are must share things.
I'm just gonna kind of blast through the end here, and then we'll leave a couple minutes just for conversation. But I do think, are you seeing my screen again?
Nope.
No, hang on. There, now you're probably seeing it. Yes,
I am.
Okay, so this is another interesting stat. When people were asked, why did you not do more business or repeat business? Look at these top 2. They never asked me to do more business with them, or the products they tried to sell me were irrelevant to me. And this goes to me, Dave, so much to the sweet spot of what you do at Mortgage Coach, the TCA, and also even, you know, Sales Boomerang. Hey, they never asked me to do more business. They never got back in touch, whether there was an opportunity or something that was raised up, but they didn't stay in touch with me. And when and if they did, they presented things that weren't relevant to me. Being that represents, 47% of customers didn't do additional or more business, repeat business, because of lack of relevancy, or because they simply weren't asked, right? Another Stratmore finding here. This is really fascinating to me. When you look at the reasons why somebody chooses their lender, referral or existing relationship account for 89% of the responses. So it's either an existing relationship with a lender, realtor referral, existing relationship with originator, or referral from a family member or friend is 89%. That's massive. So that's a massive number. And I think it just reinforces and a lot of the examples that we just saw, having those personal connections, knowing the person, staying in touch, giving that kind of advice over time is how you're going to make the transaction. I do think this is an interesting little note here, that only 3%, according to the Stratmore survey, these are survey answers after they've completed a transaction, but only 3% of those people said that they chose because of best interest rate. So very interesting. Just an interesting quote to share, because again, I think this goes to the heart of what Trust Engine is all about. Is companies have access to more consumer data than before. They're actually willing to give up information to you as a mortgage advisor if it means greater benefits for them. And the companies that want to stay ahead and improve their consumers' experiences are going to invest in predictive analytics. Let's skip forward just a tiny bit, Dave, and get to a couple of the key takeaways and some recommendations, and then we'll hopefully have a couple minutes for a few questions. The key takeaways here are this. Understand that there has been a shift in expectations, and you've got to understand and recognize that shift in your own customer base and whoever that you're going after as prospects. Things have changed. People's expectations are different. If you're not connecting with today's customers and consumers, the Gen CX, and removing that friction and offering that advice in the way that they need, someone else can do it and will do it. So that's important to know. Data, insights, and action are really those key components of engaging with those customers. And technology. We have so many amazing things at our fingertips that, man, we just didn't have when I was originating. This is like my wildest dreams come true, the things that are available today. And that's what allows us to extend and scale that humanized and personalized service across those channels. The recommendations I would make, whether you're at the loan officer level or the CEO level listening to this call, is number one, and Dave said it a couple of times throughout this call, re-examine your customer journey. And importantly, create a plan for continuous improvement. This is not a one and done exercise. We got our experience nailed back in 1984, and that's good, right? This is something you have to plan for and make time for over time. Number two, start with data that you have and act on it. Don't wait until it's perfect, but do consider how can you get more insight about your customer and what they're up to and their financial and life events that might cause you to reach out for a transaction. Dave mentioned this as well. Consider doing some secret shopping. When we asked a group of Stratmore attendees to a workshop about if they had secret shopped their competitor, about 80% had secret shopped the competitor, about 20% had secret shopped themselves, which I thought was really interesting, right? So as Dave said, yes, secret shop your competition, but secret shop yourself. And I think on that line, test your own experience end to end at least once a year. Get everybody in a conference room, block out a day, and really look at what does this experience look like and feel like, and really evaluate and re-evaluate that tech stack. And just, you constantly have to make sure that you're getting the most out of it, that you're utilizing the functionality that we have, and making good decisions about what you need in order to move forward successfully. And Dave, that's it. Those are the data points I really wanted to share and show some of those crazy examples. Like you said, in some ways it's kind of encouraging because I can guarantee you would know every single one of those names that I had blacked out. These are not just little random tiny companies somewhere. These are, this is what's out there, right now. But it is a good call to action to make sure that you're paying attention to your own experience. Because man, in this market, we can't afford to do it. So, Dave, I think we got 5 minutes left.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to drive home the point, whether you're C-suite or loan officers, there's real money. Like fastest way to give yourself a raise is to execute on what Sue just shared. I mean, I'm going to share just some sound bites to a couple of case studies that we're working on right now. Homeowners Financial Group that, looked at the MortgageCoach loan officers that they have versus the non-MortgageCoach loan officers. And guys, a mortgage, it's not about the software. It's about these loan officers are giving advice. These loan officers are showing consumers that they know them. And the loan officers that use MortgageCoach had an 8.7% higher conversion rate. They were costing the company, 6 basis points less in price exceptions. And then the biggest one of all, like when they looked at all the loan officers that left last year versus the loan officers that didn't, it was a 250% difference. So that would be like, and I'm not going to share the exact numbers, but just for the sake of math, that would be like, oh, if my loan officers use my tech stack and they're delivering advice, like I'm only going to lose 10 out of 100 for the year versus 25 out of 100 for the year. Like it's massive. And then this is like hot off the press, guys. This just came in yesterday from Greg Shear. I know you know Greg.
Yeah.
And they looked at their loan officers that deliver advice, use MortgageCoach. They have a total of 413. The 94 loan officers who use MortgageCoach were 65 more basis points more profitable than the 319 that don't. Guys,
Wow.
That's, $2,300 a loan. So C-suite, obviously, what Sue is sharing here makes a difference. And then loan officers, guys, those are loans that you're losing to rate shopping. So everything that Sue laid out, my closing piece of advice is it's time to change. Like it's time to do more training, show up to the training experiences that your company is putting on. First of all, you got to audit the experience you're delivering. Are you just delivering a great mortgage experience? Or are you delivering a great financial freedom mortgage experience? And that's where the puck is. So Sue, you killed it. I am super grateful to you.
Thank you.
Any closing thoughts before we call it a day?
No, I think the most important thing, I guess my call to action is purely to take some action wherever you start. Dave, that I feel really strongly about this, that, we can all, and I've done it too. I sit on a webinar or podcast and I listen, and then I'm busy and I go back and I've got email and I got phone calls to make and whatever. But I would just implore you to carve out 1 hour and really think about what we've talked about today and say, what is my next step? Where do I need to block out some time to really start carving out what my experience looks like? When can I pull my team together? Is it sometime in a month or two? Do we need to block off a half day? But literally commit time to doing this, because it is important. It's important. The consumer has changed, the landscape has changed, and we've got to change along with it. And Dave, I'm just thankful and honored to have had the chance to be here with your amazing community, because it's you and I have been friends a long time, and I feel like I probably have a lot of friends that I have on the call as well. So just thank you to all of you. I'm seeing these hearts. It is just like,
Yeah, we love those hearts.
I figured out how to send a heart back. Let me see. I love it. I love it. Yes.
Let us know if Sue killed it. I know she did. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel or any social media, give us a like if you got value. Share this with your mortgage friends. Share this with your executive team. And Sue Woodard, grateful for you. Take care,
Love
everybody.
you. Grateful for you.
Love
We'll
you.
see you.
Take care.
Bye.